Hey there learners! English is hard. It's tough to master, and even native speakers regularly make mistakes. In this series, we're looking at some that happen way too often, and we'll show you how to avoid them. If there is one punctuation mark that plagues native speakers, it is the humble apostrophe. People know they are meant to be somewhere, but easily get confused about where that is. The simplest thing to remember is that apostrophes pretty much always signify that actual letters are missing. For example, I've is short for I have. He's is short for he is. She'd is short for she would. There is short for they are. They can also be used when writing text that represents spoken accents or dialects that drop letters. For example, show me something. Y'all. Rock and roll. Bottle of water. This has led to some oddities in our language. When we tell the time, we might say it's 12 o'clock, which is short for it is 12 of the clock, which is an old English phrase that we never use anymore, because the abbreviation has become the formal term. Which brings us to the rules for possession. When we are expressing that a somebody or something owns an object, we add an apostrophe plus s. For example, the cat's whiskers, the author's pen, England's language, the King of Spain's wife. The reason for this is again an outdated rule that has affected modern language. In Old English, the suffix es was added to words to show possession. Often the e was silent. In the 16th century, this es evolved to become his, so they might say St. James, his park. Due to the e often being silent, and the awkwardness of saying his in the flow of speech, it became natural to simply exchange both for the simple apostrophe s, which survives to this day. Which brings us to the rule for names that end in s. In names like James or Lewis, or with plurals, we only add the apostrophe and not a second s. For example, St. James Park, Lewis' jacket, the dog's collars, Charles Dickens' novel. Depending on what feels more comfortable, you may or may not pronounce the missing s. Apostrophes of possession will always go to the end of a noun phrase. Notice the difference in these sentences. The man's car. The man you met yesterday's car. In both sentences, the car belongs to the man, but in the second sentence, the phrase that describes the man ends at yesterday, so the apostrophe goes there just before the object that is owned by the man. There is one last complication to this rule for apostrophes of possession. It's without an apostrophe refers to possession. It's with one refers to the abbreviation or contraction of it is or it has. Meanwhile, it's followed by an apostrophe is never correct. The reason for the difference is that the possessive apostrophe s was added to nouns. It is a pronoun, like he or she. Pronouns show possession differently to nouns. He becomes his, she becomes her, and so it becomes its. So as a quick summary, apostrophes always signify missing letters, so do not use them for pluralizing. Thanks for listening. Check back soon for more tips on how to master English with focus on learning.